Welcome to another episode of Lost in the Script TV, Irredeemable. How y'all doing? As always, hopefully you had a stress-free week as possible. Got a lot of stuff to get into, rehashing some old things, and going in depth, a little deeper on some other things, What up, Regina? Duke, peace to Duke in the chat. Peace to you and the family. Got a lot to get to. I almost thought I had a big story coming into this because I saw a headline, an older headline from the 25th of last month. But turns out it was just written a certain way to cause a little controversy. So I won't even go into it. I thought they threw a certain case out. I was about to say, what's her name was able to get another win, but it was a false flag. But anyway, hold on. Let me do something right quick. All right. Here we go. We can go ahead and get started. I'm going to start quickly on some political stuff. We'll get into some geopolitical stuff, and then we'll get to the meat and potatoes of the episode. Get into the meat and potatoes afterwards. Hold on. All right. Kamala Harris will not run for California governor in 2026. Not surprised. This only tells me that her backing is not. She doesn't have a lot of backing at this point. I'm pretty sure this means she probably won't be running for presidential office, but maybe not. Maybe she's jumping over this, hoping to run for office again. But let me just read some of this. Former Vice President Kamala Harris announced Wednesday that she would not run for governor of California in 2026, ending questions about her interest in the role, but raising new ones about the 2024 Democratic presidential nominees' plan for the future. For now, my leadership and public service will not be in elected office, she said in a statement released Wednesday. I look forward to getting back out and listening to the American people, helping elect Democrats across the nation who will fight fearlessly, and sharing more details in the months ahead of my own plans. So it kind of leans towards the other option that I thought about. 2028 is what she's looking at. In the aftermath of her loss to President Donald Trump, Harris and her team indicated that she would take some time to assess her next steps, which included considering a run for governor in California or potentially another run for president in 2028. I already we gave our full opinions on this. Don't think this is going to work out for her. But also, Kamala Harris announces 106 Days, a memoir about her historic presidential campaign. I spent a lot of time reflecting on those days, and with candor and reflection, the former vice president said. I also saw in an interview she did recently, she was talking about how they brought up her wearing the wired headphones, earbuds, should I say. She was like, well, I don't wear AirPods because I've been in a lot of these meetings, and if you think they can't listen to you through them, then you're mistaken. And the surveillance state that we know we live in, it is sad, the society we live in, where a person who once was vice president or attempted to run can come out and laugh about how surveilled or how they listen in and watch us as a society. And it's just a joke at this point. It's not taken serious. No one says, well, should that be happening? Why are we laughing about our own government listening in on us, spying on us? But Virginia said the MLK and money train hard for the programming, don't they? As a book collector, I won't be buying the yeah, especially in politics. When these people, we saw when anybody who's connected to any type of political scandal, and I won't even say scandal, if you just if you sit in someone's cabinet for a certain amount of time, the first thing you do when you get out of there is write a book. We see it with Joe Biden's House secretary. She came out with a book, and now she's denounced being a part of the Democratic Party. She's an independent now. So make your money, I guess. All right. Speaking of money, Speaking of money, this right here, and how these things, how two things can happen at the same time, and it seemingly should conflict with each other. Yeah, walk away. The American people don't get angry anymore. That's what I'll say. Protesting, this whole peaceful protest mess, people don't really get angry anymore. They just let shit happen. So first it was this. Israel detains, chokes, and beats up Amazon union leader Chris Smalls. Now let's start by saying, most people I would say would tell, mind your business. Why are you over there worried about what's going on with them? Focus on your own people, focus on home and how your own are being treated. You in another country fighting wars and battles for other people who at some point you have to worry about yourself, right? So that's the obvious part about this. The other part about this that made me think is him being in Israel. Apparently he was the only black person that was a part of this. It was detained and beaten. Now they released him not too long after. But it's kind of crazy that you have a president here in America that's doing everything he can to continue to keep these strong connections with Israel reasons. Israel plays a part in America's influence in the Middle East, or the West in general. But the fact that while you have a president that's trying their hardest to continue this relationship, they have an American citizen in their country and they're doing to them what they do to the Palestinians. Maybe not even as worse as they do to them. In the White House, at least as far as I saw in this article, they didn't reach out to speak on anything about this. They didn't want to address this. They didn't want this to become too much of a story. It's just funny. So with that, this article is talking about how he was released from the prison. I want to get here. Because a couple weeks ago, there was a bill that was attempted to get passed through to stop funding for Israel, for their military, sending in military money. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. All right, sorry. There was a bill that attempted to get passed to stop the funding for their military. It didn't get many votes. Surprisingly, it was a mixture of Republican and Democratic small. I think it was like 10 people, 8 people, something that voted for it, and then obviously the rest would shut it down. So Marjorie Taylor Greene, the Republican, calls for a humanitarian crisis, a genocide. She referred to what's going on over there, a genocide. Once again, Trump and his relationship with Israel has led to monies recently for the so-called victims of the October 7th, I think it was, situation that happened where on the college campuses, you have people running around with Palestinian flags, and now the staff at this particular college I'm going to bring up sued. Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene called a humanitarian crisis in Gaza a genocide in a social media post appearing to be the first Republican in Congress to use the term to describe Israel's conduct. It's the most truthful and easiest way to say that October 7th in Israel was horrific and all hostages must be returned. But so is genocide, humanitarian crisis, and starvation happening in Gaza. I found that to be a bigger deal because if you have one Republican saying it, then that means you obviously have multiple others who just ain't saying it out loud. Then we get to this. What we know about Colombia's $221 million settlement with the Trump administration. The news that Columbia University will pay more than $200 million in the federal government comes after several investigations and months of negotiations with the Trump administration. The settlement announced on Wednesday restores Columbia's access to some $1.3 billion in funding, federal funding, resuming frozen grants and opening up opportunities for future research. And the university has agreed to take steps to curb anti-Semitism on the campus. So one of the things they did was give the public settlement is almost 20 years. Columbia University agrees to pay $21 million to resolve EEOC anti-Semitism charges. Columbia University will pay $21 million for a class settlement fund to resolve alleged civil rights violations against civil rights. It's amazing to me how all these things that were fought for by Negroes in this country consistently is used to benefit others. Against Columbia employee occurring on this campus following October 7th, Hamas terror attacks. The U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission announced today the settlement resolves the charges, including commission's charge brought by acting chair in 2024 on behalf of the class of all Jewish employees, alleging that since at least August 7th, 2023, Columbia engaged in a pattern or practice of harassment based on national origin, religion, and or race in violation of Title of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. As amended, the resolution represents the largest EEOC public settlement in nearly 20 years for any form of discrimination or harassment. In addition, in the 60-year history, this is both the largest settlement for victims of anti-Semitism to date, as well as the most significant settlement for workers of any faith or religion. These people, and I'm saying it, I'm sorry, the way they're able to turn their so-called victimhood status into money is ridiculous. They're incredibly efficient with it. And there's no jealousy or envy of it. It's just, I'm in awe how easily they're able to do it. We saw an entire extended investigation into companies that were doing stuff to harass black people by writing stuff on walls that was racist, purposely deterring them from certain opportunities in the workforce, pushing them to certain departments. And it took years to get a settlement. It's crazy. Virginia says anti-Sims is equal to I'd fear for my life tactics and false facts. Very good description of it. I feared for my life. That's a very good description. Virginia said facts, and I think it's based on ancient magic systems. Bruh. Well, you know what they're into. I forgot the name of it now. You see when people walk around with those red ribbons tied on their arm, on their wrist. The stuff they're into, that what's called magic. I wouldn't be surprised if it is. And more than likely it is. We know they're into numerology and stuff, so mysticism, that's what it's called. Jewish mysticism. That's a real system that they follow. Not all. But when you talk about Hollywood and stuff, when you talk about, hell, even like I always bring up, you got these black athletes that have to have a rabbi. Kabbalah, that's it. Thanks. Thank you, Regina. Kabbalah. Jewish mysticism. A lot of them, like I said, a lot of the black actors, entertainers, they have rabbis, not pastors. They have rabbis that give them guidance. They walk around with their red ribbons on their left hand, on their left wrist, and let you know what they're affiliated with. It's crazy. But anyway, 21 million because you had to see Palestinian flags on campus and you had to get harassed because there's a war going on in another country and they're pointing out the genocide that's going on to some people. So, get paid for something that you did. You caused this for the last decades going on, but you're the victim in this. But anyway, let me play him. And unfortunately for this dude, I know him. He's one of these progressive, I guess you would call them Marxist dudes who push this ideology of it's not about race, it's class. They're always talking about class. It's about money, not about race. And he went on the platform with many would consider a white supremacist in his following because he thought he can connect with them on a class issue. But then he comes out and talk crazy about FBA and ADOS and stuff and those ideologies. So it kind of goes in line with the Marxist thinking. They want to strip you of all identity and make everybody the same. It goes back to, 1984.
Columbia is now paying out millions of dollars to their Jewish employees because they was traumatized after witnessing anti-genocide pro-Palestinian protests. Jewish employees at Columbia are set to receive $21 million, the largest payout ever, due to the Equal Employment Opportunity Act. Yes, these motherfuckers use the Equal Employment Act in order to pay these genocidal Zionists millions of dollars because they felt uncomfortable that people was protesting their genocidal apartheid state. And this is the largest payout using the Equal Employment Opportunity Act in over 20 years because these people was upset that we don't support their genocide. The United States is a complete clown-ass, Zionist-occupied fake country. If people asking you to stop supporting genocide causes you mental discomfort, then you're an absolute psychopath. Isn't it interesting how white America opposes reparations for descendants of slaves, but they are 100% okay with paying reparations to these genocidal crybabies? The fact that a bunch of wealthy white people was able to turn themselves into a persecuted minority simply because they wear a stupid tiny hat is probably one of the greatest heists of all time.
Very strong opinions. Hey man, they know how to play the system. But unfortunately for us, if we the rules, they always change. More on this to this. Maxwell offers to testify before Congress, but with major conditions, including immunity. Now, this is once again being made a story because they allege, they say, they know for a fact at this point, and I'm not disagreeing with it, that Trump is on those logs, and that's why he don't want to release it. So they're making this a issue, and Trump has been definitely seemingly doing things out of character to try and change headlines. Once again, we know that one of Trump's mentor, Roy Cohen, was a person who knew how to deal with headlines, tabloids, manipulate it. So this is kind of normal for Trump, what he's trying to do. But now them willing to cut a deal with her to try and, what they think, get Trump, it's hilarious because once again, the people who do the damage, I'm not going to say what group, because after that last video, buddy already got hot on this video. They're able to throw it on other people. Look what happened with Gilbert Arenas recently. There was a whole situation going on, illegal gambling ring or something, and somehow, along with the Israeli mafia members, allegedly, he was arrested as well. And he immediately came out. You know, he was able to get bail. I don't own the property. I was just renting, and he's able to try and. Now, I think he's making paper trail on the internet, letting it be known I had nothing to do with it. If I could, I would snitch. I would say who did it. Because if he didn't do this and he tried to just play it cool, they probably would have found a way to make him the person to take the whole fall for it. But what else we got on this? Oh, y'all see that they're now creating they're saying that because of Trump's immigration policies, and to put the agenda he's pushing, they're saying that we're in the Juan Crow era. They're saying that the same thing that we went through during Jim Crow, they wrote an entire article, New York Times, saying that we're now in the Juan Crow era. Let me show this. New York Times op-ed drops the new name for Trump's immigration enforcement agenda. It's embarrassing. Not only is the New York Times op-ed insulting to black people, it's historically illiterate. It does accomplish a catchy soundbite initiative, which is probably the objective here, but it's beyond laughable. Behold, folks, we're in the Juan era. That's right. Enforcing generations of immigration laws is now Juan Crow. I mean, if you can get through this insanity, power to you. It is mercilessly pursuit of people without papers, most of them Latino, and demonization of asylum seekers, demonization of asylum seekers, refugees, holders of temporary protected status, Muslims, and Palestinian rights activists. The Trump administration is accelerating toward a new modern of Juan Crow, just downstream of Jim and Jane. Regina said Juan Crow. Yeah. When a sitting U.S. senator refers to New York immigrants as inner city rats, when a Florida governor waxes about the Alligator Alcatraz Immigrant Detention Center, when the presidential administration takes 2 months to dismantle decades of civil rights law, we must admit that these are acts of feature presentation of neo-Confederate targeting brown and black people. The targeting of the undocumented has a name, after all, based in ugly history and shameful tradition. Juan Crow. Like, man, boy, oh boy. Now I will say, with all those headlines they give Crow and those that files, which I don't think you already knew. He's also starting to get a little bit in it with Russia. They're also mad with India because India is still buying. So top Trump aide accuses India of financing Russia's war. Now Trump administration is trying to flip on his boy. Probably means nothing. Once again, changing, shifting the narrative somewhat. And if he teased them enough, because they got their hard on for Russia and the Ukraine situation, even though a lot of the media has completely forgotten about that whole thing. Is the war still going on? Has it been a ceasefire? What we doing with Russia and Ukraine? Do we care anymore? You know, it is what it is. What up, Craig? Juan Crow. Hey, man. Well, we can't be the main characters. We're narcissists if we point this stuff out. We can't be the main characters. All right, speaking of narcissists, let me get to some of the meat in this meat and potatoes. Let me get to the story here. I feel like this is, I don't want to say the end, but it's definitely almost there. So let me show this here. ESPN cuts ties with Shannon Sharpe following state settlement of sexual assault lawsuit, AP source says. Shannon Sharpe. And this is how you know when people want you done. Now, I'm not saying there's anybody behind the scenes, like the conspiracy or somebody else saying. I'm not saying there's people behind the scenes that want to see Shannon taken down. But I also don't believe in coincidence. I can't believe certain things line up back to back to back, and it's just random. Certain things are aligned on purpose. With purpose, should I say. Gina says, you big dummy. Fred G. Sanford. Shannon Sharpe, the Hall of Fame tight end, multiple-time Pro Bowler, one of the best tight ends in history. Based off the era he played in, considering they didn't throw the ball as much as nowadays, where it's become a pass-first league, the fact that he gained the yardage and touchdowns that he did at that time shows his greatness. He has shown extreme discipline with his keeping himself shit in shape, always being ready. If you listen to his story that he told on his interviews and podcasts, when he talked about how he had to work his way onto an NFL team and the round he was picked in, how he had to work and fight for an opportunity. He got in the league and he dominated. He was great, Super Bowl champion multiple times, and he was able to make it into the Hall of Fame. But I got a question, and it's a bigger story outside of just talking about Shannon Sharpe, because it's clear he lacks sexual discipline. Because it's not just this story that led to his downfall. There's been a pattern that we're seeing now, obviously. And the question would be, is this a trait that you can find in these super ambitious or people who are already successful or going or almost on the cusp of their success in the midst of it? Is it a trait that those same people have at least one thing that can be considered a shortcoming? Do they have that one thing they fall short of and they allow it? Craig says, the way everyone bites on our culture, we are definitely the main characters. Old freaky ass nigga. So And it reminds me a lot of, if you read the scriptures, the Most High give you a thorn in your side, and it'll be there to remind you that you're in the flesh and you have to battle with the spiritual. There's certain vices that everybody have that they have to, for the rest of their lives, get around it. They have to fight through it. They have to show discipline towards this thing. And it seems like he didn't. He showed it everywhere else. Like I said, his work ethic, everything else was there. It's just this one thing. And it's not, these people in the industry, we've seen these stories that these people can accuse of. We've seen it now with the late great R&B legend. Forgot his name now, but we're seeing it with these people constantly get up in age and get accused of all these sexual crimes. We know it's power, we know having influence, but it has to obviously be more than that. Regina says narcissism, or maybe hedonism, yeah. Which is probably the biggest downfall of I'll say black men. I'm gonna say black men in general. I remember I was listening to a creator years ago, and he said the black man's biggest problem isn't that he don't want to be with black women or nothing. His problem is that he's a hound dog. He wants every woman. I remember a song by Kendrick Lamar on Untitled, where he was describing what every race strives for. The Asian, they wanted health. The Native American, they wanted land. The white man wanted power and money, and the black man wanted a woman. Why is in considering the history and how black men have been painted through white supremacy as these brute sexual demons that can't control their lust, it's crazy how so many of these men fall right into that stereotype. Ones with power especially. Virginia says more money, more problems, or more money, more risk-taking, thinking, no consequences. And that's what I'm getting to right here. I look at these, I think people like Shannon, these wealthy people, look at sex like a cheat day. Like, how when somebody's on a diet or a fast, and they say, all right, for the next 2 months, 6 months, a year, I'm not going to eat this, this, and this. But Sundays, Thursdays, or whatever will be the day I can eat what I want. I can pig out on some shakes, McDonald's. I can eat something I never should eat. But on that one day, I can cheat. I can drink a Pepsi. That's how they view sex, it seemed like. And this in general, not just him. Like, sex isn't something they share with a woman or they, them. You got to count for nowadays. You got to count all of it nowadays. It seemed like it's more so something that they earned access to. They're entitled to it. Because I was so disciplined in these other things, I was ambitious, I worked hard, I did all these things, I deserve access to her. It's mine. And it's unfortunate mindset. And now he's lost a possible $100 million deal with whoever. That was just a rumor a couple months ago before this drop, that he was going to be offered that much money. But now it's probably off the table. It's definitely off the table, more than likely. He got to get that on his own now. And then another part of this, and I'm going to read it. Hall of Fame tight end turned broadcaster Shannon Sharpe will not return to ESPN. A person with knowledge of the decision told the Associated Press on Wednesday. Let me play what he had to say.
Obviously, I'm sure everybody's heard the news by now that I will not be returning to ESPN. I found out this information a little earlier in the week. And really, the only thing that I really ask is, like, guys, could we wait until Monday?
That right there. You're asking ESPN to wait until Monday because his brother had just made the Hall of Fame. So congratulations to him too. Shannon Sharpe, wide receiver. At his prime, some people consider him as good, if not better, than Jerry Rice. So he's in the Hall of Fame now. And now, because of the decisions you made, Shannon, the actions you put yourself in, the consequences you're now getting because of your actions, you are overshadowing your brother's moment.
My brother's going into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. I really wanted to be about him, and I wanted to be about my family. I know this coming out will overshadow everything that he's worked his entire life for. And unfortunately, it didn't happen that way. And so as I told him, as I profusely apologized to him earlier today, he said, bro, stop apologizing. You don't have to apologize. I'm your big bro. I'm gonna love you regardless. We all make mistakes. We've all, and he says, bro, I love you. So I'm done with this. You're done with it too. Move on. And I really enjoyed my time at ESPN. It gave me an opportunity to bring my audience that saw me really just grow. They saw me, Lakers in 5, and they saw me say all these analogies that my grandparents gave me, and I was able to bring that to ESPN. So I'm very, very grateful for that. But I just wished, of all things, like I said, hey, they did what they felt they needed to do, and I'm at peace with that. But I just wish, guys, this thing could have waited until Monday, because I hate the fact that I'm overshadowing my brother, the first two brothers in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and this is what the headline's going to be for the next couple of days. So, bro, again, I know you told me this, I don't have to apologize, but I'm going to do it one final time tonight, and I won't apologize again. I'm sorry that I upstaged you in this manner. That was never my intent. You've been my hero. You've been my role model from as long as I can remember. And I apologize, and I thank all my fans for supporting me when I was at ESPN and every place that I've been, be it Club Shay Shay, Nightcap, Undisputed, ESPN. Thank you guys for your support. Now,
man, oh man, all those stories you told from your grandparents, and none of them warn you of this. Like, even when you look at this right here, people kept talking about Cat Williams, when Cat Williams said, I have information on everybody, all these celebrities. I know what they all doing. And you didn't see yourself as a possible part of that when he was warning you to slow down. When he said these deviants are going to be exposed, all lies will be exposed. And then you had Monique, who told you to get a woman your age and settle down. And then I want to show this one here, because this one was the funniest one. This goes back into when you're of a certain, when you're in a certain mindset, you'll hear what you want to hear. And that's on purpose. Sometimes something will be told to you and you just don't want to hear it. So it miss you. This is Lil Yachty, the rapper Lil Yachty, who has some advice for Shannon Sharpe.
People like you, man, y'all get to a certain age and you still like them young. You like
yeah.
You like the same age girls I like.
Okay, yeah,
right. When you get to a certain age,
I'm getting old, but my eyesight's still young.
Right. Okay, and with that, you got to uphold a certain way, because you can't be old and sloppy.
You get one or the other.
Right.
Young and sloppy, or old and in shape.
Exactly. Or you're gonna get old and in shape.
They're talking about two different things. Lil Yachty is saying you can't be old and move sloppy. Shannon Sharpe is thinking about being sloppy, as in your shape. And he just quit right here, where he just tapped out.
Exactly.
He just tapped out like, all right, man, you got it. You got it, man. That's what you heard. More power to you.
Or you're gonna get old and in shape. Women.
No. Guess you got
exactly. So
he just tapped out on it. Shannon Sharpe, man. It's unfortunate to see people seemingly on their way to the top and things come back and the roosters come on there. As Craig said, once again, old freaky ass. Yeah, he was slobbering. I saw the women. They were saying he's slobbering at the mouth, thinking about a younger woman. Yeah, man. It's unfortunate. Because he was telling this story too on his podcast, where he was saying he caught 16,000 chickens with his bare hands for $16. So 1,000 chickens for $1 when he was growing up. He had to go to school, football practice, go work on the farms, and then wait till 12 to go work on the chicken farm to catch chickens until 2 in the morning, whatever, however long it take him. And you come from that extreme level of poverty. I know y'all seen the video of his small house that he grew up in. You come from that level of poverty. It obviously put it extreme. It obviously gave him a strong work ethic and driven and ambition. But other ways, I guess it just failed him. I don't know. But we'll see. Hopefully get his title back and things come back together for him. But unfortunately, with this story, Chicago woman files $20 million defamation lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe, Chad Johnson. Tillman first captured public attention in April after a viral moment at an Usher concert in London. Let me play the clip. She's at an Usher concert, and remember when Usher going around and giving women cherries? She was one of the people. Went a little further than some people. I'm gonna fast forward. So this is what she was doing. So Shannon Sharpe, Chad Ochocinco, went on Nightcap, talked about the viral moment, and Shannon read a false statement that was put out by what was alleged to be her husband. So he read this, and it was supposed to be a whole commotion about, oh, she was doing this as a married woman. And she came out now and said, I was not married. That has affected my career. I work with children. And now the men and the people around my life I've lost business, basically. My name has been tarnished. I've been defamed. Craig said, Auntie Drip. Oh, yeah. You see that look in her eyes? She was ready to go. Obviously, it's Usher. So it is what it is. But now I saw a lot of people saying, well, if you knew you were a professional woman, why are you at a concert doing this? But a concert is meant to be somewhere to go to enjoy yourself. And then America has groupie culture, which is something that's been attempted to be exported to the Middle East and stuff, where in America, our celebrities, the women especially, the celebrities are like gods. Hold on, y'all, hold on. All right. Virginia says, aunties want to have fun too, dude. Don't hate. That's what I'm saying. I'm not hating. She was having a good time, but I saw the people that were criticizing her for doing this as a professional, and it could possibly, it's Usher. It's an Usher concert. This is a viral thing he's doing. It can go viral. Now the question becomes, and this is a kind of a quick answer. Let's be honest. Should this be a $20 million lawsuit? No. This should not be $20 million lawsuit. And Usher needs to stop doing what he's doing, by the way. Usher, you need to stop doing what you're doing. One thing you gotta know, I'ma be a nigga for life. Usher is constantly doing things to affect people's marriages. This goes all the way back to Boondocks. The infamous episode where Usher, Tom's white wife, ended up falling for him. And then the dude in real life who wrote it, who was a black dude, said, my wife, that ended up happening with her. She was my wife or fiance, I can't remember. Usher walks in. She act like she don't even know me. I'm just a friend. Yada, yada, yada. Usher playing into it. So Usher actually destroys these people's relationships. You need to stop that. But that's old school R&B though, I guess. Regina says, what's shocking about the lawsuit? So Shannon podcast was the first to make the comment. I saw so many videos about it. Well, Shannon probably was the largest, because remember, this is after the Cat Williams thing. That wave is still pretty strong. There's a lot of attention. And Shannon Sharpe went on his platform multiple times and said this multiple times. So it's repeated on the platform that's going viral in his own right. So I think, let's be honest, he's a weak link. He just got hit over the head by the white girl. I see people saying numbers like 23 million. He gave the white girl. That's why she retired. But I don't know if he actually gave the Caucasian, the OnlyFans girl 23 million. I don't think he gave her that much. I think it was under 10. If it was 23, then yeah, he did. It was it's a bad week for him. But I think it's because his platform is so big, and let's be honest, Shannon Sharpe's audience is probably, out of all the large podcast platforms, probably the oldest. A lot of older black men and women like watching his content because, like he said, he always references his grandparents. He's a man who's, what is Shannon Sharpe, like 50, 60 years old, something? So his audience kind of has that. Also, he has a young audience too, but he has a lot of older people. So on Facebook, that clip from Shannon Sharpe is probably going crazy. So that's what she sees as the main video that's painting her as this adulterous wife. So that's why she sued him. Like I said, 20 million, no. Let's be honest. But I ain't gonna sit here and say she has no case. I'm not gonna say that. Craig said, wouldn't let that shit happen to me though. Exactly. Boondocks need to come back, man. I understand why it can't work nowadays because it'd be like doing a parody of a parody at this point. Society in general is don't even seem real. So, and a lot of the messages that the creator made, he would be considered a hotep. They would talk crazy about him now. His commentary on the black man and women relationship, how he talk about certain things, they would call him a misogynist. They would call him a coon. So it just wouldn't work. Virginia says, in the culture of OnlyFans, social media, semen retention, degeneration all over the place, why is Usher's concert a big deal? Like I said, to a certain demographic, during that time, this Usher concert thing with the cherries was going viral. Like, it was getting tens of millions of views on all over social media. So, like I said, I think she sees that the center of it was Shannon Sharpe. And he's an easy target. He just got hit for a lick by the white girl. And if you're going to pay them, pay me. So, like I said, I don't know how far this goes. She might just be trying to, because if anything, let's say the people around her, she did lose business and support because of the allegations that she was a married woman. Just getting this headline out there lets it be known she wasn't. So even if she get nothing from this, maybe some of her integrity or whatever public perception is returned, maybe. So it's not really it's a win-win for her either way. If she cares about how people view her or not, she gains something either way. But 20 million is crazy. Let's see. What we got? Oh, y'all see this here? I won't stay on it too long. All right. Trump now seriously considering pardon for Sean Combs ahead of sentencing, White House official says. Nothing. Y'all think Trump gonna pardon Diddy? His sentencing 2 from now. Virginia says Stevie Wonder could see this as pardon coming. I don't know. We'll see. He did say there was a quote alleged to be him saying that Diddy was very mean to him during his support for other candidates from the Democratic Party. So Trump might be petty and be like, because you was mean to me then, even if we was cool back then in the 90s, early 2000s, the fact that you came against me during my presidential run, I ain't gonna help you. Or maybe he'll wait. He'll let him serve some of his sentence, then pardon. But I think he probably will, though. I agree. He probably will pardon him. And now I'm wondering how is the industry going to react? Because now we know the sentence that more than likely his sentence would be no more probably than 5 years. Probably only serve 3 to 4 of that. Or 4 of that, should I say. 3 to 4 of that. Probably on the programs, the good behavior programs already. He'll be out in a year and a half, 2 years. How does the industry and the people who call him all type of, what's his name? What's that guy's name? The one with the wild curly hair, the journalist, hip hop journalist. He was talking crazy about Diddy, call him all type of piece of shit, and he should be under the jail. And then when not guilty verdicts came down, I'm just a journalist, I'm just covering the media. I have no interest in whether he goes to Torre. Thank you, Virginia. Torre. I have no real interest in whether he goes to jail or not. I'm just a journalist. Like, all right, bro. Yeah, Torre. Thank you, Virginia. Craig says Trump invited to the freak off. Well, if he was out there with Epstein, I know he was right there with Diddy. Although maybe Diddy was a little too wild for Trump. I don't know. Let me show this story here. 3 arrested after brawl in downtown Cincinnati appear in court. Let me show the fight first. Shout out to C Races on Twitter. White dude hit a black dude out of nowhere. So they decided to teach him a lesson. I'm not gonna show the whole thing because YouTube is, looking for one of them. The one that swung first is an immigrant. I don't know if he's Eastern European or what. He's an immigrant white man. He put his hands on this black dude, and the whole crew put hands on all of them. Led to an entire brawl, as you can see. All right. But crazy enough, in this brawl, the only people arrested were the black people. They were the only ones arrested, not the Caucasians. See here? The 5 people charged in connection with the viral brawl downtown last Wednesday appeared in court Wednesday. Cincinnati police said Tuesday, Merriweather, 34, Derica Vernon, 24, were arrested on charges of felon and aggravated riot. On Wednesday, a third suspect, Jermaine Matthews, 39, was also appeared in court. He is being charged with aggravated assault. The Cincinnati Police Department alleged Merriweather whispered to the co-defendant and started arguing with the victim before a fight. That's not what we'll be talking. The detective described a coordinated attack. The detectives alleged Merriweather came up behind the victim, hitting them in the side of the face, kind of like an ambush. Police also shared in court that they have more video from camera mounted on the building in the area that allegedly shows Merriweather and Matthews chasing the victim before hitting them. Yeah, because he hit them first. That's the point. The prosecutor's office presented a photo in court that depicted Merriweather's alleged involvement. Cameras were not able to see the photo in full during the hearing. Let me show this other clip of them talking about this and not arresting the whites. Craig said, "Good job, brothers."
For those who want to politicize it, the J.D. Vances and the Vivek Ramaswamis and the Bernie Marinos and the Christopher Smithermans and many others who want to politicize it, they have not yet said something that I always hear when a black person, say, runs from the police and then is met with disproportionate force, sometimes ending their life. What we hear is, well, why did they run? Why didn't they just comply? We hear that every time. But I've yet to hear anybody say, why didn't he just walk away? So let me back up so you understand this. 2 combatants, one black, one white. A black man steps in, breaks it up. The white guy re-engages, slaps, not the black man that he had just squared up with, but slaps another black man, and nobody's asked.
You're not finna just slap me like, like, number one, you're not spitting on me, or it's gonna be bad. And you're not finna slap me. I'm a grown man. You're not finna just slap me and everything just move on like normal. That's just crazy.
And why didn't he just walk away? And so when I see, and I don't know who else the chief is looking for or CPD is looking for, but when I see the mugshots, I only see people who look like me. I don't see the person who re-engaged, slapped not the initial person, but slapped another black man. So I don't see the slapper's mugshot. And so sadly, I have to agree with those who are politicizing this and racializing this. I have to agree with the Smithermans, the Ramaswamis, the Marinos, Corey Bowman. This is racial because it is unequal justice. And so until we see all the mugshots, this is still a racial issue. So let me say again to those in Cincinnati, it's Friday night, and we know people like to go out on Friday night. Here's what I would ask. Because of what happened this past weekend, we don't want to see it happen again. Drink responsibly, take care of one another, and everybody get home safe.
You know, it's crazy. It almost reminded me, they're trying to get their brawl licked back for what happened in Alabama a couple years ago. Virginia says white men are pussies, no power, fake power that they drain from blacks, even though I hate that identification. We're going to get to that identification a little bit later, too. But yeah, this is one of those situations that's expected in this country. They're not even going to look at other people as a threat, as the actual villains in the story. They're just going to paint the black people as the threat, the ones who caused all the trouble, the ones who brought the drama. You know, those black Americans, as they say. And it kind of leans into this right here, where a Eastern European man from another country, an immigrant, don't even know if he was a tourist or not, but I'm pretty sure he's just an immigrant, can come to this country and feel as he's above the status of your average black man. But it ain't just them. I'm going to show you this video here with an Indian man feeling the same way. And I keep saying, what happened? Why are we recording so much? I understand you want things to be reported. You want things to be done in order, maybe protect yourself from being hit with crimes you didn't commit. But when somebody disrespected you in the past, you just handled it right there. I'm not recording it and telling the world I was disrespected. I'm gonna make sure this person don't disrespect me anymore. But maybe that's just an ignorant way to do things. Let me play this.
What's your name? Anand, can I see your ID or something?
No, I mean, you can call the police, or I can call the police. Can I see your ID?
Yeah.
Let me see your ID.
Yeah. Take out your ID and I'll take out my ID.
Let me take out your ID and I'm gonna take out my ID.
Okay, let's. Can you get my phone? No. Let's call the police. Give me your phone. Let's call the police.
I'm in my own neighborhood where I live at, working in my neighborhood by my house, and I have this man asking me, "Do I live here?"
Yes.
And what's your name?
Dude.
I'm going to start. I'm going to start a civil lawsuit right now. That's what I'm gonna do.
Absolutely, you got to do it, man. But I want.
What's your name, man? Because I'm walking in the neighborhood where I live at, and I'm getting harassed.
No, wait. He's unnecessarily playing us.
But we took my car for the
Yes. Bring my phone. I don't have my phone. Get my.
The wife is trying to tell him move around. You know, this obviously the case with Ahmaud Arbery, rest in peace, where the Caucasian men felt like they have the right to tell him to stop moving. And he must listen. Like as an adult male, you have to do what I tell you to do, or I have the right to shoot and kill you. And that lingers into these damn immigrants, like this Indian here.
Come with me and get the
I will get my phone because this guy will escape otherwise. Get my phone. Get my phone.
Come with me.
Yes. Get my phone now, please.
They'll probably accuse him of him being drunk or something.
You see this man right here? I'm gonna keep him a distance back. He's steady walking up on me like this. Y'all see this?
Yep. I know that this is not your house.
This not my house, but I live in this neighborhood. You don't got it. Listen, I don't got
you don't live in this neighborhood.
You don't know where I live at, sir. You can't not tell me where I live at, and I'm not gonna pull out my ID and show you where I live at. I know you live right here, and I live in this neighborhood. You have a blessed day, sir.
No,
you have a blessed day, sir.
I'm calling the cops.
You have a blessed day, sir.
Here, boy.
You have a blessed day, sir.
You wait here, boy. But I will say, when it comes to the other Indians, Asians in particular, because Indians are considered Asians, they are the most willing participants in this type of system. They want to be Caucasian, so it is what it is. And some of them are Caucasian, obviously, we talk about Indians. Virginia says he should have called ICE. Hey, maybe that would have told him to get out of his face, but I don't know. I wouldn't have talked to him that long. They've been speaking to each other that long. Let me go to this story right quick. Let's see. Ooh, let me show this. All right. NYC shooting at heavily secured office building raises questions about what more can be done. There's a shooting in Manhattan. Started off with, some crazy man went to a building, shot a cop, an employee, a cop and 4 other people. He was crazy. He said he had a CTE, and he was trying to go, and he blamed the NFL for this. He had a note on him. He's blaming the NFL for his so-called CTE or whatever. And yeah, that was the initial story. But obviously, people started writing articles about other aspects of it. People started looking into it a little deeper. Turns out one of the people he killed is a Blackstone executive, as y'all already know. Not just some employee. She was a bigwig. She ran the entire real estate portion. So I'm gonna go through some of this. What we know about Midtown Manhattan mass shooting suspect Shane Devon Tamora. I'm just gonna read some of this article. They identified him. He was wearing body armor in the open fire, killing 4 people with a high-powered rifle. The 27-year-old lived in Las Vegas, where he issued a concealed firearms permit by the Las Vegas Police Department. He was previously issued a work card by the Nevada Private Investigators and Licensing Board, which has since expired. According to the records reviewed by ABC News, his last known address was in a gated community in Las Vegas. So they went on in this and talked about his high school, how he He completed high school in Los Angeles area. He went to high school where he played football. He also went to a charter school and played there for a little bit. So they tied it to football immediately, saying that he had CTE. He blamed the NFL. They tied it to the football situation quickly in this article, right? But then when you read the other articles, and you see this article here, brain of NYC mass shooter Shane Tamor was to be studied for CTE medical examiner. Hold on, I ain't got the screen. I'm sorry, y'all. Medical examiner. Virginia said inside job couldn't cancel her under DEI, so they initiated an MK Ultra. That's a possible side of it. But when he went to this building, he didn't just, they said he went to the wrong floor. Like I said, he was trying to go to the floor with the NFL associated department. But he went to this place, went to the 33rd floor. I'm sorry, the numbers stick out. And one of the people he killed was the bigwig. Let me get to this here. I'm going to play this. This is somebody made this video and had it voiced by the characters of Family Guy. But there's the conspiracy he's talking about is very interesting. So let me play this here.
A billionaire CEO is dead. 4 people shot inside Blackstone's HQ. And the media's talking about the NFL? Nah, you ain't crazy. They're covering it up. Because when the internet laughed, memed it, and called it Luigi, they realized this wasn't just tragedy, it was a fucking signal. A message from the broke, from the ignored, from the generation that's done watching billionaires die of old age.
So why aren't they saying her name?
Because if they tell the truth that Wesley LePatner was a high-ranking, high-profile real estate exec, they got to admit something way bigger, that this system made people numb, that Wall Street deaths don't hit like they used to, that we're not sad anymore, we're just watching the scoreboard. So let's break down why they're barely saying her name. And when they do, it's like Blackstone employee, respected mom, tragic loss, cool. But who was she?
She was the fastest kicking CEO of Bright.
Exactly. Not some middle manager, not someone grabbing a coffee in the lobby. She ran a $53 billion real estate trust. That's not an employee. That's a power broker. So why downplay it? Because if people knew what Bright really does, they'd stop calling it a tragedy and start calling it blowback. Bright Blackstone Real Estate Income Trust was founded in 2017. They've spent the last 8 years swallowing the housing market like a fast-risk kicking void. We're talking $105 billion worth of homes ripped off the market, bought in bulk with cash, no negotiation. You try to put in a mortgage offer, they outbid you in seconds. You're not competing against families anymore. You're competing against Wall Street with a war chest, and they don't sell. They don't flip them. They don't resell. They hoard the homes and turn every single one into permanent rental inventory.
You won't own anything, and you'll love it. 2030.
So now, that house you dreamed of buying, you're paying double to rent it from a private equity firm.
And guess who sets the rent price?
Bright? Yeah. And in some cities, they're the only landlord. They've achieved monopoly control, especially in the Sun Belt. Atlanta, Charlotte, Phoenix, Tampa, whole zip codes are now owned by 1F** Quicking Hedge Fund.
So what happens when you control all the rentals? You raise the rent, and there's nowhere else to go.
Bingo. You're not renting from a landlord anymore. You're renting from a fasterous kicking algorithm. Why they can't say her name. So now you see why they can't focus on who died. Because if they say high-ranking Blackstone exec gunned down, CEO of firm driving unaffordable housing, they open Pandora's box. Because people aren't dumb anymore. They feel it when their rent hits $2,400 for a 2-bedroom. They know they're being outbid by something robotic. They realize the dream of owning a home is dead and someone killed it. And that someone worked in that building.
So they just say employee and move on.
Yeah. Like she was stocking shelves, not architecting the financial structure that's pricing out a generation. They minimize her role to protect the illusion, because the moment you connect her name to the rent you pay, people stop scrolling and start looking for blood. A billionaire...
Jen says, oh yeah, 32-degree Mason, ritual perhaps. Craig says, boom. Now, I saw people say that the company that they brought up, Bright, that company doesn't actually have as much... inroads into the renters they're talking about, only 9% of the country, but that's a lot still, 9%. But yeah, that's the conspiracy that I heard. Now Regina said something I find interesting too, saying that this might have been some inside job and they awoken someone in order to remove her. Although we might say the same thing about the Luigi situation. Was that somebody who was angry at the insurance complex situation going on, or was that somebody who was told, make this happen? You know, we'll see. But yeah, I do think every article I've read about this woman has been, and I could show right here, hold on. like this one right here. Now, this is the only one I've seen them go into detail about her actual position. You know, Blackstone executive among those killed in NYC shooting. Wesley LePatner, a 43-year-old Blackstone Group executive who led the firm's real estate investment trust business, was among those killed in a mass shooting at 345 Park Ave in Manhattan on Monday. LePatner was an 11-year veteran at Assets Management Company, where she served as a global head of its Core Plus real estate team and CEO of Blackstone Real Estate Income Trust, a $53 billion vehicle that marketed to individual investors. Then they said the typical, we are devastated by her loss. She embodied the best of Blackstone. Our prayers are with her husband, children, and family. But there's a little piece here. It says, prior to Blackstone, LePatner spent 11 years at Goldman Sachs. She also served on the board of the Metropolitan Museum of Art, the Abraham Joshua Herschel School. So yeah, most of the articles don't have that much detail. It's just mom, employee, leader. Oh, they say she mentored women. That's a lot of the headlines. That's not to say that this woman should have been, gunned down or whatever, but they're definitely underselling how important she was to this company. They don't want the same outpouring support, really, that we saw with the Luigi situation. But let me show this right here. Hold on, y'all. Hold on. This is another story that I talked about, I think, sometime last. All right, we back. Shrink known as Bigfoot pleads guilty after her arrest for molesting detained teens. So this is a story I talked about, I want to say it was last year, where a woman who worked at a youth detention center was molesting the young boys there. A shrink known as Bigfoot, who was accused of raping and sexually abusing at least 5 victims at an upstate New York juvenile detention center, has pleaded guilty to a criminal charge in the case. Maya Hayes, 47, faces up to 2.5 years in state prison after pleading guilty June 25th to one felony count of criminal sexual act under a plea deal with Columbia County prosecutors. Yeah, they call it Bigfoot, Regina. Hayes could also be slapped with 10 years of post-release supervision and forced to register as a sex offender for a minimum of 20 years when she is sentenced in September, the Columbia District Attorney Office said. Hayes faces several lawsuits from nearly half a dozen young men who claim she piled them with phone privileges, hair products, and food while regularly fondling them and forcing them to squeeze her breast, according to court papers. The alleged abuse unfolded in Brookwood, a youth facility near Albany, where one of the accusers was as young as 15. The investors allegedly wanted to have oral sex with her young charges because she was sexually frustrated at home. One alleged victim says Hayes told him, according to the Manhattan Federal Court lawsuit filed by the 3 accusers. He added Hayes claimed it was her fantasy and it gave her a rush to give residents blowjobs. She once lifted her skirt to show her breast, show off her breast, while asking another boy, who was then 16, "Do you like big boobs?" he alleged in the legal filing. In yet another episode of alleged abuse, Hayes was accused of asking the victim to fondle her and then complained he was not squeezing her breast hard enough when said in litigation. Dr. Hayes' guilty plea was the first step in holding her and her staff at Brentwood Source Center accountable for the sexual abuse and emotional trauma our clients endured. What's funny is the nickname Bigfoot came from the staff. And then in the other article we read before, when this first became a thing, the staff used to laugh. They used to laugh because they knew what she was doing. So the entire staff, and I'm sure she's not the only woman or man in that building that's doing something like this. She's just the only one that got caught. So I'm hoping if there were other people in the building doing this, that these young men will come out and acknowledge that and tell the entire story for that too. Chris said 2.5 years is insane. Crazy, ain't it? And I don't want to do the comparison thing because I do believe in double standards. I think they exist for a reason. I believe it's just different. But if this were the opposite, 2.5 years would be that wouldn't even be on the table. And maybe I'm wrong because I've seen rapists get 5 years in some of these crazy cases. I've seen men who rape men or children and they don't get near the sentence they should get, which to me, what I think is right versus what this country puts obviously ain't the same thing. I would imagine at least 20 plus years at least, but they be getting 5, 8, under 10 years most of the time. Regina said agree. But yeah, it's clear that she wasn't the only one doing it. So now the tough questions we got to ask, because these 15, 16 years old, the purpose of these young men coming out and saying she did this, it could be, is it because they didn't want to do it because they didn't like her? Because once again, I'm just not going to believe she's the only one that was doing it. Considering, like I said in the other article, we know for a fact that some of these other people knew what she was doing. So she couldn't have been the only person doing this. So are they saying this because they didn't like her? Or are they saying this because genuinely they were sexually abused? So hopefully more of this comes out and all the things in that place is exposed. I'm surprised they ain't talked to have that place shut down, revamped. Everybody fired. Everybody fired. But we'll see. On a lighter note, we'll move on to make a joke. You're gonna see why that is the topic. In this story, hold on, y'all. Ari Lennox says classic Martin jokes bother her. I draw the line. I'm going to play what Ari Lennox had to say about Martin and growing up and then rewatching it and how she feel about it. Let me play this short clip.
What pissed me off about Martin was how much he would go on Pam. Like, I know, like, and this is coming from a girl who I love me a good, like, joking ass movie. And it even when the joking movie is like, damn, like, that was fucked up. Like, you know, I'm not like too woke or something is what I'm trying to say. Like, I'm honestly not, I'm problematic. I'm pretty problematic, low key. But my point is that there are some things where I draw the line and it just bothered me. Or like, I don't know, it's like, Pam was so fucking beautiful and so fine. And I just feel like growing up as a chocolate girl, like, I don't even know if I was able to understand the greatness of Pam because of the light that I feel like I was being fed. You know what I'm saying? Like, of just like always going on Pam, always, like, that's all I remember. And I didn't like that. But like, so I feel conflicted because while I feel like this show is incredible and I feel like Martin is a legendary show and all of the actors and Tommy and like everybody, like legendary, amazing. Like, I adore them all. Like, you have no idea. And I adore Martin. Like, I adore him. it just would piss me off. Like the joking on Pam. I just didn't like that, you know? Like, I'll always kind of feel a way about that. Like,
Virginia says, my son used Martin to cope during the pandemic, so I watched for the first time. Or did you enjoy it? I do think watching it when it was out, when it was first being presented to us, how it was received then, would be a lot different versus now how we view things. Society is a lot different. Jenna says, I was struck by all the stereotypes, colorism, gender wars, classism, secret societies, Illuminati, and on. All black TV has them. Well, see, that was the thing about Martin. In the show Martin, Martin is very comparable to the TV show Moesha. As in, the lead character was not the person, he's not the good guy. He's not the one you necessarily root for all the time. He's an asshole. He's like, what's the white guy's name from the movie where he's supposed to be, Sherman Hemsley. You didn't root for him in, what's the name of the show? Moving on up. I forgot the name of the show. Sherman Hemsley, you didn't necessarily root for him. He was mean, constantly was joking on his maid and all these other people, disrespecting him. But he was like the lovable asshole. That's what Martin was. And when you talk about the colorism stuff, maybe I'm looking at it wrong. I find it unfortunate that people like Ari Lennox, when he would joke on Pam, they saw themselves in Martin's jokes rather than in Pam. Because she would joke back with him. She was a successful woman. She had men constantly pining for her. She was what she would call, what they would call now at least, the empowering black woman archetype. But it's sad that she only saw herself in Martin's jokes rather than Pam herself. Because she didn't let nothing Martin say affect her. It just wood on her back. She just kind of went on by her life. Like, he didn't break her confidence. So that's unfortunate. This is, my sweet son loves Martin's asshole nature. My son loves all the asshole men I watch on YouTube now. They lovable assholes, man. That's what Martin represents. He wasn't the good friend. He was not that type of friend. Martin was the one who would do all the wrong things during the show and then do the right thing at the end. He'll finally do something right then. Which showed that he knew what was right. He was just an asshole and drug his foot to do the right thing. Final note, I felt Martin low-key loved Pam versus Gina. Well, that's another part. There was an entire episode dedicated to Martin's subconscious attraction to Pam, where he kept dreaming about her. That's kind of what was kind of unsaid, but yet said somehow. But yeah, I don't like this new thing either, where people use society and the eyes they have now to critique and judge shows and movies from then. Especially when you get to the topic of colorism. There's entire episodes that was literally based in that and shows like Different World and stuff. Like, I just didn't see those things. I didn't see him just joking on Pam. I saw him joking on Tommy. Cole got called stupid every episode. Tommy got called broke and no job every episode. Gina got called big head every episode. It's certain, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but most people would say that this view on the show just probably doesn't fit. But people have their opinions, I guess. I just think it's unfortunate that she saw the jokes and not, black culture blame whites for racism, but hate to take accountability for colorism. Chris said, "Go, you rent on spoons." Oh Lord. All right. But black culture to blame whites for racism, but hates to take accountability for colorism. I think people who don't see it at all are crazy. I agree. It clearly is a thing. It exists. We see it not just in the media and everyday lives in some instances. You see it. Even if it's not verbalized, certain context clues will let you know why things are happening the way they're happening. It's because of some type of colorism is here. I get that. Like, even the idea, I've seen people bring up that Gina being the light-skinned woman and Pam being the friend who's dark-skinned, who can't, quote-unquote, keep a man. I could see how people would see that as, you see, this is the colorism part. Even Pam, what was I saying? The original character was supposed to play that character. They wanted to be a heavy-set woman. which would have been that would have really made it bad. It's a lot like when me and Travis always bring up that Ice Cube is lucky that in Players Club he didn't choose a dark-skinned woman to play one of those characters, because it would have pushed the colorism thing even more. The woman in the strip club who's mean and don't care about nobody and selfish turns out to be the dark-skinned woman. Because originally that was supposed to be another person. So he's lucky he chose two light-skinned women for those roles, or it could have been a lot of rewriting for that story. Virginia says it's just as bad as the psyche of the result of more of our collective problems we don't recognize or don't want to deal with, from my perspective anyways. Well, yeah, but I think when you go back and watch all these movies from the 90s, even I've seen a lot of women now, a lot of women are calling Love and Basketball a horror movie. I think to me, they're reading that movie totally wrong. They seen it as a selfish dude who didn't care about her, ended up getting her at the end. It's like, no, that movie was about priorities. You could take Love and Basketball and make the lead character a male, and I think more of those people who dislike it now would understand what it was about. It was about priority. It's the same thing with the Blues. And the movie Mo Better Blues with Denzel, directed by Spike Lee, that whole movie is about him finding out that him playing an instrument isn't the most important thing in his life. It's okay to love something, have a passion for it, but there's priorities. You can't worship whatever you're into. You know what I mean? That's what the movie Love and Basketball is about. You have to have priorities of what's really important in life. But anyway, enough about these black movies. Let's get to some more black stuff. This is the final segment. We're gonna get into this. Hold on, y'all. All right. Here we go. Pop star Ciara among first beneficiaries of new law for slave descendants. Craig says Mo Better Blues is very underrated. Yeah. I found out about that movie. Funny enough, I just said going back and watching the movie, and you didn't watch when it originally came out, but I saw Mo Better Blues like 10 years ago, something like that, my first time. And maybe it was better for me to watch it as an adult than as a kid, obviously, because I understood it better. And I saw people do breakdowns of it. Older black men explain certain things, certain contexts of the movie. Very, very one of Spike Lee's better movies. I agree, they're very underrated. It might be in his top 5 movies, but let me get to this. So Ciara is now a citizen, has citizenship, should I say, with Benin. Hold on. All right. Grammy-winning artist Ciara has been granted citizenship in Benin, becoming one of the first prominent individuals to be benefit from the new law in West African nation that offers nationality to descendants of slaves. The acquisition took place in ceremony on Saturday. This move is a part of a wider initiative by Benin to attract the black diaspora, acknowledge its historical environment in the transatlantic slave trade, and boost tourism. It's always about the tourism. Always about the dollar, profit. And I'm going to get to that. I'm going to get to that right there. Because I have some questions. By legally recognizing these children of Africa, Benin is healing an historical wound. It is an act of justice, but also one of belonging and hope, Justice Minister Yvonne said in the ceremony. Here's what to know about Benin's efforts to welcome slave descendants. In September, Benin passed a law granting citizenship to those who can trace their lineage to the slave trade. It isn't open to anyone above 18 who doesn't already hold another African citizenship and can provide proof of an ancestor was deported via the slave trade. So wait. You didn't sell them. They were deported into the slave trade. The language used. So while you got a president of their country trying to take somewhat accountability for what they were a part of, the way you describe things matter. Words matter. Virginia says, didn't Spike Lee and his wife, Tana, also recently become ambassadors for it? Yeah. We talked about that last week. And we just saw Lauryn Hill is in Benin. So they're doing the same thing that Ghana did, pushing to get particularly Black Americans. Let's be honest. They say the African diaspora, but they really mean Black Americans. Get them to come over, make them cool to try and benefit from tourism, which goes back to that whole African Union, 6th region. Their plan to tap into that $1.7 trillion purse that allegedly Black America has created. But the fact that you're describing the slave trade as people who were deported is crazy. For anywhere in sub-Saharan Africa, Beninese authorities accept DNA tests, authenticated testimonies, and family records. Last week, the government launched My Afro Origin, the digital platform, and processes applications. What we got here. But the citizenship, Ciara gains Beninese citizenship. A country reckons with slave trade history. The U.S. pop star became a citizen under a new law. We already went through all that. And this was the picture I saw initially. And this goes back to the whole think about these people have a plan. And nothing is a coincidence, like I said earlier, coincidence. Because at a time when these type of things are happening, social movement that is being pushed for people to call out and who is who, where you from, and what is your agenda. So the question's got to get asked. Is Ciara's repatriation symbolic or substantial when there's no shared struggle? What does it really mean when a celebrity reclaims African lineage through citizenship without any material consequence or political alignment? What is the gain here for her? Is this somewhere she can go to if America falls? Is that what this whole point is, or is she just playing as a mascot? What is the purpose? So I want to show this.
I'm going to touch on a story we were mentioning just earlier on. American R&B singer Ciara has become a citizen of Benin under a new law that grants citizenship for these descendants of African slaves. The Grammy-winning star appeared alongside President Patrice Talon at a ceremony over the weekend in Cotonou, the capital. The star is among an early cohort of descendants getting the coveted green passport as part of the program intended to acknowledge Benin's historical involvement in the transatlantic slave trade and boost tourism. Some say it's Benin's latest attempt to expand its soft power and influence. Well, we're going to speak to...
I realized that last week, or really a couple weeks ago, when we saw the African Union stuff come out. I was wrong. I said that America was sending Black American celebrities over there to boost their own soft power. But now we know, as she just said there, it is them that's trying to gain soft power. I think a lot of these countries as well, particularly Ghana and now Benin, are trying to replace Nigeria as like the top dog on the continent. But we'll see how that goes for them.
Leonard Wancheknon, who is a professor of politics and international affairs at Princeton University. He's also from Benin. Great to see you, Leonard. Thank you so much for joining us on the program. As somebody from Benin, I do want to get your opinion on this law. How do you feel about this, about descendants of African slaves getting the chance to get citizenship now?
Oh, thank you very much for having me. I think this is wonderful. For two reasons. First, because it strengthens the ties, the historical ties between African American and Africans, particularly Beninese. But also because, as you mentioned earlier, it's an opportunity for us to invest in historical cultural tourism, which will help boost the economy, but also a stronger sense of identity and
You see how he tried to get that in there? It's always about money, and there's nothing wrong with it. You can't fall for the trick. Americans like to play mascots to African claiming ancestral lineage. She nor Lee's look Benin. Craig said Umar will be proud. Oh, I see they was on Umar bad when he asked for some more money. So now I got to ask the question to y'all. And I'm going to get to an even stronger point on this later. Is lineage, as a Black American lineage, should I say, a brand or a birthright? Black culture, as I always say, is the umbrella for which all the other quote-unquote Black ethnicities are under, at least in the West. But honestly, it's not really a culture to them. It's a brand. That's why they always say we ain't got no culture. We are a platform to be used. Everything we've heard, I played 3 videos, I've read articles. Every single time they mention tourism, economy, when acknowledging you going back to quote unquote your homeland. For them, it's not about no ties and the history and acknowledging a historical problem that happened. No, this is a chance for us to build our economy, bring some tourism here, and they'll come over here. Some of these Negroes will come over here and cry with a handkerchief and say they can feel the energy of their ancestors going through the castles and getting on the boat, on the ships, and they just charging you a fee. They're charging you a fee to see this and be a part of this, and you over there trying to get acceptance, trying to find something you belong to, because you've been told for 100 years that you are a vagabond. You are a displaced people. You've been told you have no culture, that is all American. We're going to get to that later about what is the influence of a Black American culture. We said is it imperialism through America's soft power, or do Black Americans push American soft power through their influence? Virginia says, definitely being treated like a brand. Everybody except us and make money off of us while also talking shit and defaming, etc. Oh, when I get to that defaming, yeah. I got mad earlier. I'm gonna let y'all know I got mad earlier. But yeah, I saw something that said that our ancestral connections are more like a marketplace now. You know what I mean? I'm gonna show some more of that later. But yeah, let me show this too. Before I go deeper into that, because since we're talking about influence and stuff, I want to show this. This was the whites. They decided to announce to everybody that they are starting a all-white town. Like this is supposed to be some breaking news, some, oh my God, yada, yada, yada. When if you truly wanted to be on your own and build something with your own and not have everybody else a part of it, especially if you're a Caucasian, you wouldn't say it publicly. There's no need to. You did this for attention. So you wanted other people to know you're making a white-only town. For what reason? Why do we need to know you're doing that? Just do it. Who cares?
No Jews, no gays. High up in the Ozark Hills, in the state of Arkansas, dozens of people have been working hard, building houses and a new type of community. It's called Return to the Land, and it is a town open to white people only. They are millennials and Gen Z, and this is a new update of age-old prejudice.
What we've done here is establish a place where we have control over who our neighbors are, and that is just for the sake of preserving, our culture.
And that culture, effectively, we're saying this is a white culture, a whites-only place.
White American culture.
But
y'all hear that? White American culture. Man, oh man. Regina says, yep, who cares? Because they've been doing it. Nothing to see here. Plus, they lying about no gay.
Well, we don't believe you. You need more people.
Yeah, because old buddy walking right here, I'm going to leave that alone. Craig said that the inbreeding in that town is about to go crazy. Oh, you about to see nothing but blonde hair, blue eyes. Give them a couple generations, it won't be nothing. Everything will be yellow and blue.
what this sounds like is bringing back segregation. Is that a fair assessment?
It's free association. So we're not trying to keep other people down. This is a small settlement in the middle of the Ozarks.
But they are being kept out, even if...
Well, I mean, you don't let everyone into your home.
Around 40 people live here. Hundreds more from across the world have paid to be members.
So he called it white American culture, but he's allowing whites from other countries to come in. So it ain't white American then.
And while the men do the physical labor, the women take care of the children who live here full time.
And this goes back to what I've been saying about Trump's entire political campaign. They're trying to reestablish the hierarchy amongst their men and women. The women ain't having babies. The men don't approach the women in public. The women ain't having babies. I think they said now for the first time in who knows how long, the women are having children later in life and getting married later and having children later. I'm talking about in the mid-30s. That ain't helping them in their population. So if the government ain't gonna do it and force certain things to happen, they got rid of Roe v. Wade, the abortion situation. They're trying to get certain affirmative action, all that stuff, which benefits white women. They're trying to get rid of all this social net. They're trying to get rid of certain things that benefit and help them in society, the social safety nets. And they decided to do it on their own. We're just gonna build a town and make this what's normal.
It could be a very loving community if you're part of the community, but if you're black, or if you're Jewish, or if you're gay, you can't be part of that community.
They can have their own communities, and they already do.
You might be wondering how any of this can be legal. Return to the Land is structured as a private...
No, we don't care about being legal. There ain't nothing wrong with what they're doing. Do what you gotta do, man. Hey, survival. Try to survive. What is this? Hold on, y'all.
Did y'all know that during the First World...
I want to show this. Because while they're saying they want to be left alone to their own devices, to be able to rebuild their culture and stuff, these same people who want you to, quote unquote, leave them alone, historically, they've done everything to make you not be able to do things on your own. They've done everything they can to make you be around them. Virginia says, wonder how they distinguish one pale from another based upon skin. I asked the former doc who is Jewish if he was white. Hell no. He got so offended. Well, see, that's that thing. They've been taught to try and make themselves a minority. I ain't falling for that. But let me show this. The same people who tell you now they don't want to be around you historically have done everything to make you be around them. Let me play this.
Did y'all know that during the First World War, when the black soldiers were sent away on deployment, they would send money home to their wives, enough so that they didn't have to work? And they didn't. So they became stay-at-home wives, stay-at-home moms. And this pissed some people off, and you know who. Mainly the white women. Because now, all of a sudden, all these black women were staying at home and not working and taking care of their families. And they were pissed because they lost their maids, their cooks, and all the other domestic workers. What happened was they complained. And so much so, there was a law passed, or a black code that was passed during this time, that forced black women to go to work. They had the nerve to complain and call black women loafers and lazy. Sound familiar? Sound like today's times, right? Anyway, black women had to go to work. And if they didn't, they were fined or sent to jail. And I just want to say that it's pretty revolutionary if you decide to rest. So take that PTO, girl. Take that vacation, sis, and rest.
Oh, man. If you're not going to take care of my family, you can't take care of yours. Oh, boy. All right, but back to this other discussion I want to get to. I want to play this here. Let me play this here.
Lineage, burden of proof, difficult, divisive, and under-inclusive. So our leading question is, and actually, before I do the question, Jessica, Jam, could you just please explain the topic of limited access reparations?
Sure.
Lineage, that they're trying to, this is propaganda. When you change the words of something to mean what you want it to mean. Lineage-based reparations, they try to change the word of it. Craig says, wow, I never knew that. Yeah, the black codes, man. When you look up those, they don't call them laws. When you look up those black quote-unquote codes, some of the stuff they put in place, it's just, they were just fucking with you. It is what it is, though. You got to know your history, man.
The topic of limited access reparations.
Limited access reparations versus lineage-based reparations.
Sure. So essentially, what people are advocating for, what certain people are advocating for when they use the terminology of lineage-based reparations is really a type of limited access reparations. And I can go into this more after our presenters discuss this, but essentially it's limiting access to various portions of the population and creating barriers to being able to gain access or entry to reparative justice.
Remember, I read something last week that said from 1962, I think, but they were saying that when you start to separate within a demographic, it obviously causes tensions. And we've been saying that the last couple, we've been definitely seeing the tension rise quickly. So when she's saying here is the limit access for certain people, she's acknowledging that if you give this to just this demographic, like that 1962 paper said, it will cause a strain and a possible the possibility of unifying. So these people won't unify with you if they can't benefit from being around you. Not just benefit from being around you, but benefit from getting repaired for the injustices that happen to you. They have to benefit from it too. So it ain't really, they're not doing it to actually help you. They're doing it because they might benefit.
People who come from enslaved and colonized lineages, you know, a lot of times things are disrupted in terms of our families. We're disconnected and things of that nature. So if the burden is on me, or burden is on people in our community who don't have certain resources, a lot of our people will be eliminated.
So I think we need to question whether or not this entire lineage thing is a tool of white supremacy to distract us from the overall struggle for reparations, which is, again, always been a Pan-African project, has been inclusive of everybody.
I wanted to hear your thoughts, but I also wanted an opportunity to respond to it. Reparations this is Kenzo Jackson, and reparations is a specific claim for those who were enslaved. It's a debt owed for the free labor. As long as you can trace your lineage to the 1870 census, you're entitled to the claim. Why should other people be included on a claim they're not entitled to? It's like filing an insurance claim for an accident and your cousin trying to get in on the claim and he wasn't in the car. So again, why should people be included that weren't here?
You know, I don't want to even respond to that because I think, with all due respect, it's an
I'm sorry, hold on, y'all. All right, I'm back.
Wasn't in the car. So again, why should people be included that weren't here?
You know, I don't want to even respond to that because I think, with all due respect, it's an uninformed question.
He didn't want to answer that one. We know why though. Virginia says, when you consider how enslavement, black codes, Jim Crow, now Juan Crow, and so many other war tactics used to pit black men and black women against each other, and we fall for it. Yeah, it's unfortunate. Been going on for a long time. Virginia said also, I forgot Willie Lynch, too, whether live or Memorex. Yeah, throughout my years, I've seen people say that the Willie Lynch letter was not real, that it wasn't a real thing. It was written by somebody to try and galvanize and have people understand what these things are doing to us, and they just put it into words. You know, so it was something that was done with positive intent, but that it wasn't real. But I don't know. Let's go to the next thing. Oh yes, this goes further into that. Virginia said, I just realized I follow that Raymond Bushman on Facebook. I'm also going to show some of these people that's from the conscious side of YouTube or social media in general. People who 15 years ago, they was talking about the comedic sciences and debating the Moors and debating the, what's the red hat, the tassel wearing dudes, I forgot their name. Science, I forgot their name. A lot of those people are now talking this FBA ADO stuff, and they're claiming and pushing their FBA heritage and lineage and history. So it's funny how, and no offense to them, when I look at people like Sa Netta, it's like their discussions are based on, they discuss and debate anything that they deem will get them the numbers. So I don't know how much of it is genuine. But let me play this here.
This really struck me. I found it to be incredibly interesting, and I respectfully disagree with Yvette on this point. It's actually something that Yvette said herself earlier in our conversation that helped to solidify my perspective on this. She was talking about the ADOS movement's policy platform on their website.
But we also have a transformative Black agenda in terms of housing, in terms of environmental racism, in terms of every space where we need resources.
And in that portion of the conversation, she cited these two Black experiences: the inherited experience and the lived experience of Blackness.
Every space where we need resources. So I think when people try to understand us, and that part of it does include Black immigrants, because that is part of your lived experience in this country, is discrimination. The inherited experience, though, of being Black American, which is ADOS, is only us. So that's who we are. That's what we stand for.
I think Yvette is 100% right. There is a unique inherited experience that I know all too well to be true in my family. My Nana, who is alive and well and as beautiful as ever, she worked as the help in the homes of racist white people in the 50s and 60s. Her parents were born to sharecroppers in rural Georgia, just a step away from slavery. When she was a little girl, she knew old people in their 80s and 90s who had been slaves. Her entire educational life was spent in segregated schools. She wasn't covered under the protections of the Fair Housing Act until she was almost 30 years old. And it's not just my grandparents. My parents were born into a segregated world. If we're being really real, I was born into a segregated world. And when I have kids, they are very likely to be born into a segregated world themselves. Those are the inherited or lineage-based realities that Yvette was referring to. I fully believe in my own agency, but I am also aware that my life has been impacted, if not shaped in some ways, by the fact that my ancestors were enslaved and marked as permanently inferior. Those things have had compounding downstream consequences for access and wealth building and social dignity, just to name a few.
That's just obvious. That's the whole point. And with that, it has led to obviously all this discourse going around about what are the things that really separate us. I'm not talking about separate as in different race. Once again, to my lineage, we're talking about just separate ethnicities, your history in particular. And by the way, I saw the obviously we talked about the supposed boycott that was supposed to start yesterday, right? Or the day before yesterday, August 1st. The African boycott. I see that they started posting clips of certain businesses that were still getting business. And I thought it's probably not a smart, because this is not something that's supposed to be one day. I hope y'all do realize that. And I also saw people starting to include, thankfully, the Asians and the Indians and the Pakistani store owners. And hopefully, what if somehow this thing balloons, and maybe it won't. Maybe it's already over. People are already not moving past it, whatever. But what if it somehow ballooned into people going on this making a decision on their own to do business first with their own? Just a wish. Also, let me show this because now they on Phil Scott ass. Let me play this.
I didn't make content about the African Union saying anything. The African Union has no power. The African Union has no voice. I've been to the African Union myself. We've dealt with people from the African Union. They're not organized to do anything. They're not organized enough to do things on the African continent beyond with you. So anything they're saying about reparations or whatever is just talk. They're not. They do not and cannot intervene in American affairs. They don't even intervene in African affairs. Like talking about the African Union can't tell Rwanda stop doing this, South Africa stop doing that, Uganda don't do this. I'm just saying things. I'm not saying they're doing anything wrong. They have no power. I'm telling you, none of them presidents in the African continent listen to them. That's almost like a social club at this point. They have no power. They have an agenda and all these other things they want to do, but they don't have any power because I've asked them questions about, hey, in the past about the diaspora. What are y'all doing? X, Y, Z. Well, we're trying to do this and well, we're trying to do that, and they ain't done the thing. So I won't even waste my time talking about, some kind. See, there's a lot of people talking and they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
I feel attacked.
They just run off at the mouth. You haven't engaged these people. A lot of you haven't been over there where they at to even know what they got going on. That's why certain things I don't even talk about. Whoa, y'all talking about the African Union 6th region? Oh, they're gonna, that been set up way before you found out about it. I knew when they did this years ago. Like, oh, the diaspora gonna be the 6th region, and at that time I said, oh, okay, what y'all gonna do for the diaspora then? Oh, y'all doing some citizenships? What are y'all doing? I asked that question. Well, we doing it. And this was when Dr. Arikana was still around. She was the most vocal person from the African Union, and they let her go. Says a lot about that. And the reason why they let her go, she told it, was because Emmanuel Macron didn't like how she was on his bumper all the time. And if Emmanuel Macron could get her removed out of her position as a permanent representative of the African Union to the United States because he said so, that means it has no power. So that's why I didn't even engage in certain conversations. How is the African Union gonna come over here to the United States, tell the U.S. government, give me the reparations for black people? Like, do y'all really think sometime before you talk? I gotta go there today. Do you really think? You're just in the chat mad about something that would never happen. This government is not gonna give the African Union crap. So chill out. This is what happens when you let people run off at the mouth till you don't know what's going on. Geopolitics is something important for all of us as FBAs. We need to know what's going on over there in Africa, in the Caribbean, in Latin America, in Asia, in all these different places. We need to know. Because when you don't know, people could come in and say, look at what they're about to do. And they haven't done a freaking thing. The simple thing they could do is give us citizenship. They can't even do that. They can't tell a single African nation to give us citizenship. That's nothing but paperwork and a passport. So they can't do that, but they can come over here and get the American government to give our reparations to them. Okay, so just wanted to clear that up.
Did you clear it up? Because raise your hand in the chat if you've ever met with the African Union before. Right? Come on, raise your hand in the chat if you ever met with the African Union before. Raise your hand, raise your hand, raise your hand. See, what it is you guys just weren't going to say anything. You weren't going to say anything. And you're not the only one. Y'all were not going to say anything.
You know what's crazy is when you don't tell things, regardless if your intent was pure or not, you had no nefarious intent. When you don't say things and then they come out, people automatically assume the worst. So it doesn't matter. Chris out there, yeah, I hope so too. It doesn't matter if they have no power now because you didn't tell us. You didn't tell your subscribers or you didn't tell your followers about your meetings and talking with the African Union back then. You dismissed it as powerless, which once again was something I mistakenly did when I talked about the purpose of all these pushes for Black Americans to go there and boost up their tourism and stuff. I saw it as American soft power when it was the opposite, or at least it was interest. I want to show that. Hold on. I want to get to something. Hold on. I'll show this. This is from a couple weeks ago. There's a page on Instagram. It's called Humans of NY, where they go around and they just interview people on the streets. They talk to anybody, let them tell their life story, and all their humanity or whatever. So they interview one woman, and this post got a lot of likes. And her first post, this woman, She's a Caribbean woman who's apparently on drugs. In her first post, she pointed out how she loves being a prostitute, yada, 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 and she is who she is. She talked about her parents and how they were neglectful to her. They weren't around as much as they should have been. She didn't get put on the right path, and yada, yada, yada. But for whatever reason, in a second post, she decided to put complete target on Black Americans. Particularly, she used the terms ADOS. Let me show you what she said. I'm not going to read all of it. She said, I talk to Africans that barely speak English. They say we don't like Black Americans. They're not talking about white Americans. They talk only specifically about Black Americans because Black Americans have effed up mentality, a crab in a barrel mentality. I'm sorry, but yes, we're going to address it right here. ADOS, American descendants of slavery. They have a crab in a barrel mentality that Africans and Caribbeans do not have. And when I read this, I'm not going to read the whole thing. That's pretty much that's pretty much what she went through right there. When did Black Americans become when did Black Americans not become, when were we not the face of Black? When did that happen? When did they start talking to Black Americans like we're the ones who don't love and push Blackness? Because that's the whole narrative I'm seeing from a lot of these naysayers or whatever. Where did that come from? Never has that. The people that instilled pride in you, you're not turning around and saying that they're ashamed of who they are. That's just crazy to me. She said they have a crab in a barrel mentality. You ever seen crabs in a bucket? They all try to get out. Blah, 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 blah. She said the Caribbean way is we going to get it. And we're going to reach back down and pull out somebody else. Lift everyone up until the last one is out. But I don't see that in your countries. Like, we know the game. We know most of y'all that are allowed to be in this country are not people that are, quote unquote, the average Caribbean or the average African. You are hand-picked to be allowed to come in this country. Even the so-called, the ones of y'all that get through illegally, the ones that come here and become immigrants illegally, we see how things go for you versus the ones who were handpicked. But that's not the Black American way. As soon as somebody is out, to make it out, our crab claws hurt. I'm going to be raw as fuck right now. It's Black men especially. They do not make me feel safe. Now, keep in mind, I don't want to say this woman has not been harmed physically or mentally or emotionally by Black Americans or Black men in particular. But the fact in your first post, you admitted your lifestyle you're a part of and the neglect you got from your Caribbean parents, but somehow the people that have the most in your life are of another ethnicity who are also Black. The Black Americans are the ones who harmed you the most, not your parents, not your siblings, not your other family members, not those options. So she went another part where she talked about colorism that she faced as a child, blaming only the Black Americans, even though we see in their own countries. Like I said, I'm not saying it doesn't exist amongst Black Americans, but when you say colorism and then you say Caribbean Black American, when I think of Black American, I may see favoritism for a certain complexion, which is bad. It's a bad thing that can make people feel inadequate. I understand. When I think about that for Caribbean, I think bleaching, complete shame. I think about women in those countries who teach their children, particularly their female, their daughters, to marry non-Black so they can, quote unquote, whiten the race, save the family. We are not the same. It's not the same. Virginia says, I swear these folks aren't fighting up against Black Americans. Instead, they do seem to realize they're fighting tribes from where they come from and or Caribs. Crazy folks. Crazy. I'm so sick of these niggas. Go home, ETs, and build up your own countries. So she went through all this. She pretty much got all her anger and rage out against Black Americans. And she ended with, their friends be ending up drunk, bringing alcohol, fighting with my siblings in the house. Anything can happen. Do you understand me? I do not feel safe. I have never felt safe. I want to show, hold on, let me show the rest of this. She said, she ended with, cause I'm not gonna read all this. Put this on your podcast or whatever the F this is. I want to see this shit on YouTube so that years from now, in 100,000 years, they can watch this shit. Black American men, you do not protect us and you do not love us because you don't love yourself. This is my point. Now, this is in New York. They tell us all the time that they're surrounded by their own people. They have their own neighborhoods and culture. Why are Black American men around you? And I've been saying that, and once again, I'm not saying it's not something that falls at the feet of Black men in America as far as what's going on. I'm not saying that. But a lot of the times when I see these gender wars going on, this is who's doing it. I have seen as a slur at this point, but it's foreigners. They take their own gender wars in their own countries, and they see the public discourse that goes on between Black Americans here in America, and they come here and throw more gasoline on it. Because why, as a Caribbean woman, why didn't you focus on your own men? Why are you not around them? If Black American men are not protected to you, and you don't feel safe around them, why are you around them? It just doesn't make sense. And this is why people call y'all fucking liars. That's just the truth. This is why the discourse goes the way it does here. Jen says, YouTube has taught me about immigrants as an ignorant American that all folk and kinfolk, I'm no longer in the dark, delineates for survival. Chris says, if you don't feel safe, you can always return back to your Caribbean. Just saying. Facts do regarding gender wars. The fight feels foreign to me. Like, I've seen so many people say the most foul things, men and women. And every time I go to the profile, it's a flag there. I'm not saying every time. I mean, let me say that, not every time. Vast majority of the time. It's just gasoline being thrown on these flames. And the fact that this page put that up and left it up, targeted not only a particular demographic, but a ethnicity. Any other point, that's called xenophobia, ain't it? If a Black American got on there and started talking crazy about Caribbeans and said, this is what they do, these are the things about them I dislike, I don't want to be around them, you would say that's xenophobia. Why are you saying that? But anyway. Virginia said, in my personal life, the Blacks I interact with never war with each other, only cooperate. I feel like in my whole life, like I said, I'm not saying it doesn't exist. I've never heard certain things being said when it comes to gender. I never heard people say, I don't like dark skin, or I've heard more men say, I don't want to be with no light skinned woman than I have heard, I don't want to be with a dark skinned woman. That's my experience. I understand that. I've never heard a woman say she don't want to be with a dark skinned dude. I've never heard a woman say she don't. I've heard, I got a family members, relatives that have said they're not attracted to light skinned people. I'm not saying, and that to me is not a thing that's really means anything. It's just, I just haven't heard certain things being said. When I look at my family and see who was with who married who's dating who, it's never on color lines. Like, it's just not there. But like I said, I understand if that's just my experience. Jen says, me either. Shit is weird. And again, foreign concepts that tether bring with them here. Yeah, man. And that leads me to play this here. Because we were talking earlier about the idea of lineage base versus limiting access. Let me play this here.
At the heart of it is benefits.
Absolutely.
As in money.
Right.
Who deserves affirmative action? Who deserves set-asides? It gets down to the hardcore. Can you, sir, as an immigrant Black person to America, are you eligible for set-aside programs for a group of people that were disenfranchised in the United States as a result of slavery and
why does dude look like Yvette Carnell to me?
discrimination? Now, do you feel that entitlements specifically should go to immigrant, non-white people who are now citizens even of the United States?
I believe the civil rights movement, the fight for equality, would not eliminate prejudices, and I believe.
You think it's a prejudice if African Americans believe that only the blacks who were Americans who went through that period should be eligible for those?
I think they should be eligible because they went through the pains and sufferings. I do understand it. But for me, as a new American, coming here, facing the same prejudices again as me, walking on the street, in Wall Street, coming here to anywhere you go to the South.
So you think the only qualification is to suffer prejudice in the United States? It doesn't matter if you were here during that period.
I believe we should look at it and saying that those who suffered, who came as slaves here, deserve more than anybody else. They suffered more than us. But I said Africa were colonized, and we in Africa as well suffered. I don't mean that I'm coming from Africa, I am claiming the same right like Bobby or like his children. What do we call my child born here in America?
Okay, we're going to come back to what we call them, yes. But right now I want to talk about the benefits.
Right.
So these questions, this man from Africa, what is his child? Is he a part of the lineage? These are old questions that have already been answered. But I want to get to this right here. Let me show this. All right. This goes to the next topic. Right? The topic being, is Black America's global impact based on unique greatness or American imperialism? Would Black culture still dominate globally if it weren't fused with U.S. soft power? Or is the Black American culture pushing America's soft power? Let me play this.
I recently made a post on X that got African Americans really mad, like really, really mad. 140 characters really ain't getting the message across, so let's talk about it here, shall we? The post said, Black American culture is the culture emulated throughout the world because America colonized the world. We're not that special. As many of you know, I'm a well-studied Pan-African, always learning, always reading, always around other Pan-Africans. I didn't think this was that hot of a take. But I know some of y'all even watching this video right now are like, wait a minute, what do you mean we not that special? And that was a lot of the pushback. It was like, we are special. And if you're thinking that, I just want to say, I am not saying that African American culture or Black American culture is not special. I said it's not that special. And what I meant by that was that there are African descendant people all across the world. There's Afro-Brazilians, there's Afro-Caribbeans, there's Africans in the continent. We're not just like some super magical Black people that are the only people on earth that are tapped into what resonates with the rest of the world. And the reason I made that post was because a lot of African Americans that I talk to really believe like we're like the secret ingredient to life.
It's called the salt of the earth. There's a term for it. Regina says, I like watching Tony Brown's journal back in the day, but looking back, was he an immigrant too? Oh, I didn't even think about that. Oh, what up, Kiefer? I made it. I have to go back and watch the replay after the live. Thank you for coming through. But it's called the salt of the earth. So the question I asked, obviously, and the question is, the thing he's saying is that because of American media and imperialism is why so many cultures around the world mimic or copy Black Americans. I say no to that. I say the reason why Black American culture in particular is around the world is because people saw what happened to us it happened in front of everybody. When you talk about obviously slavery, Jim Crow, all the other stuff that was going on all through the civil rights movement, they saw it live. So people who were quote unquote downtrodden or people who were, under somebody's thumb, they were inspired by it. It wasn't just that you were militarily in people's countries and you were forcing your media on their television screens. It was that what you was forcing on their screens resonated because of what you were doing to these people. So it's them is why it's popular. If we were over here just doing what everybody else was doing in those situations, then it wouldn't have resonated. We would have been just another group of people on the planet. But it didn't work like that. Virginia says, oh, brother, we are special and we are tapped into ourselves. I ain't thinking about the rest, but they thinking and following us. I'm going to show a lot of examples.
And like our culture is just so special because it reached so far and did so much for so many different other people in different cultures. And I'm troubled by the Americanism that is implied in that reasoning.
What up, mystery man? What up, what up?
Our culture is special, but the only reason the rest of the world even knows about our culture is because American imperialism has spread itself all across the world. And when it did that, it took our culture with it, whether we wanted it to or not. Let's look at hip hop for an example. How did the people in China, Japan, India, and all across the world get introduced to hip hop? Was it because they came to America, heard our music, and said, hey, man, I really like this. Let's go to the African Americans and tell them, I really like your music, and pay them for it? Or is it because the white-owned record labels that distribute music decided to make more money off of our culture and distribute music all across the world? America has 750 foreign military bases in 80 countries. Going back to the 60s and 70s, Black American music like jazz, R&B, and the blues got transported to these other countries on these military bases where Black people in the military would be listening to it.
So once again, if you put something in front of somebody and they don't like it, what happens? Versus when you put something in front of somebody and they do, what happens? Richmond said, what is the tether talking about? He ain't talking about nothing. So that became a whole situation. He did a part 2 video to that. And as I said, I'm going to bring this back. The brand versus the birthright. I'm going to jump straight to this story here. I'm going to jump straight to this because this is important. So this right here happened. This is what had me fuming when I read it, when this first came out. Marvin Sapp responds to Maverick City music executive critiques gospel music. Now, first, let me play what he said that has some people ticked off. All right. Let me get to this. Wrong one. Hold on. Please tell me I got it. I don't do it. Oh, snap. Hold on, y'all. He made some comments about gospel music forward in order to be embraced. Hold on. Hold on. I might have to just read the article. Hold on, y'all. I could have sworn I saved this video. All right, whatever. I'll just go through it. It's a good one anyway. All right. Marvin Sapp responds after Maverick City music executive critiques gospel music. Gospel singer and pastor, the Chosen Vessel Church in Fort Worth, Texas, Marvin Sapp, has weighed in after Norman, can't say the last name, the CEO of Insignia Assets, which owns Tribe Records and contemporary Christian worship music collective Maverick City Music, invoked Sapp's popular Never Would Have Made It song in a controversial critique of his music genre. Speaking on a recent episode of the Isaac Career Show, Curry Show, a podcast hosted by gospel singer Isaac, Norman appeared dismissive of some of the traditional expressions of gospel, calling it over-singing, citing the success of Maverick City, which has several #1 albums on Billboard and won 5 Grammy Awards. Norman suggested that gospel needs to evolve in a way that better connects with today's generation of Black Christian youth whose struggles are different from those of their forebears. The gospel norms wasn't working anymore. Y'all sing too hard. Y'all over-sing. Norman, the brother-in-law of gospel singer Pastor Travis Green, says, stop doing that. Nobody wants to hear runs. This is a person who's an executive and pushing gospel music is saying this. People keep saying we want choir music, but choir music would have never died if people wanted to listen to it. What do you mean by died there? With Maverick City, Norman said he saw a perfect storm of factors that helped to address those concerns. You had Black kids with respectfully white writers and producers. So they were training them not to oversing. So you went and got white people to produce Black gospel music like white people would do it. They were making content during the pandemic when everybody wanted God, and they were great songs. It wasn't like we're going to get over it. We're going to get over it. They were making music that resonated with people because the reality is we didn't grow up like our parents. I grew up with a 2-parent household. Both my parents are doctors. I don't know nothing about no struggle. No disrespect to anybody. I ain't grew up with food stamps in the hood. This man is Ghanaian. A first-generation Ghanaian American who's an executive in gospel music is telling Black Americans that no one wants to hear runs in gospel music. It's over-singing. Keep in mind, this is gospel music. You can make a strongest argument. The most important genre of music when it comes to Black American culture and the history of Black music in general is gospel music. It is the foundation of almost everything. This is what he's talking about. Virginia says, I don't care who is offended, but tethers have bought third world norms to please white folks, and American is now a third world place as a result. Amen. My kids can't relate to it. Like the way Never Would Have Made It hit my grandma, don't hit me the same way, he added. It's different. We relate to a different story. And I'm not speaking for everybody. I'm just speaking to the general young Black kids. Our struggle today is more internal than they are external forces. Never Would Have Made It isn't about being on food stamps and being in the hood. Like, just think about the stuff these people are saying. He said, I went and got white producers and writers for gospel music. Which takes me back to this. Is lineage a brand or birthright? Black culture is an umbrella to all the other Black cultures, and they're under it. But honestly, it's not a culture to them. It's a brand. They always say we have no culture, but I believe they believe we are a platform to be used. Our ancestral connections in this country, our lineage, our history in this country is now a marketplace where our trauma is up for trade. I found out recently that the Marriott, the brand for the hotels and stuff, Marriott, they don't own none of the buildings. They lease out their name, Marriott, to other buildings for profit and get royalties. That's what Black or Black American is now, except we don't receive royalties. People come to our country, get under the brand name of Black, and benefit from it, and then talk down on a tradition. See, this is the problem too in this article. They kept referring to this as tradition, which it is. But call it what it is. Call it culture. He's dismissing your culture. This is a foundational part of your culture that he's dismissing. This right here, I ain't grew up with no food stamps in the hood. What does that have to do with Never Would Have Made It? And I'm glad his article, like I said, everything happens for a reason. Things happen at the same time because it's meant to align. This article made sure to point this right here out. The critique of Norman, a first-generation American, didn't go over well with many. Yeah, make sure you identify him. You should have put Ghanaian in this. You should have let people know what he is. Mystery Man says, y'all better go to Walmart and get gloves and knee pads. We going back to slavery. Keep Virginia says, tether babble, tether logic, tether splaining, white ass kissing. That's all it is. What up, Honorable? It's just money to him. Because further into this, a lot of the people that are going against him are saying, hey man, this shouldn't be just about profits. You saying you went and got white producers and writers and told Black gospel singers to stop singing, quote unquote, too hard. Attacking the traditions of gospel music is crazy. In an extensive response to Facebook Monday, Sapp said Norman critique is valid, but raises more concern about the way he delivered the message. I'm going to read all this. I'm sorry, y'all. Norman raised valid concerns about how slowly the gospel industry has embraced the digital age. He called out outdated infrastructures, traditional gatekeeping, and the need to prioritize data, streaming, and digital innovation. He's not wrong in his observations, but here's where I offer a perspective rooted in both personal success and historical context. I've been a gospel artist for nearly 4 decades. I've witnessed and contributed to every major shift in our genre, from vinyl to cassette, from CDs to streaming. By the grace of God, I've experienced billions of streams on platforms that didn't even exist when I released my first album. But let me be clear. I didn't get here by rejecting tradition. I got here by respecting it, learning from it, and evolving beyond it without erasing it. That never would have made it, singer said. Gospel music has never been just about platforms or placement. It's been about ministry, credibility, and connections. It's about the pastor who believed in the young artist, the church that sold CDs after service, the regional gospel fest introduced a choir to a new city. These weren't just distribution methods, they were spiritual ecosystems. To call them irrelevant or outdated without nuance, to ignore the generations they reached and the souls they touched. Worship leader in Maverick City Music, these are the people that's in his group, by the way. When I saw this, it explained even more. This is the people he... Worship leader and Maverick City Music member Naomi Rain rejected the narrative that the group's creation was driven by commercial interests that devalue Black tradition, which she would have said Black American. She made it clear that her interest in Christian music has always been eclectic, and how that is expressed in context of the group is purely organic. As grateful as I am to the founding member of Maverick City Music, Maverick didn't shape that foundation in me. I've never pretended to be anything but authentic self in any song that I've sung. And Mav, I've never felt pressure to be anyone but me. Thank God she wrote. All the song leaders in Maverick came together, bringing our authentic worship and praise and lyrics to perspectives and upbringings and backgrounds to form what Maverick was. That wasn't created by a business executive or branding deck or business strategy. That was formed organically in songwriting rooms and writing camps by genuine connections in the spirit of God. So, and it was a whole interview that he did. This is where I saw people saying, when they come out and say things like this, it's just adding more points to what people have been saying. You don't have connection to this stuff because it ain't you. Like he said, his parents, he's Ghanaian, both his parents are doctors. So they're Ghanaian. They don't have the soul that exists in this country and in his culture to understand what that music stands for, what it's meant, the sound. You're talking to the praises. Like, you have people across this planet that have came to America or hired people from America, Black American churches to train and teach their choirs. What do you mean nobody want to hear that? All right, man. But, because you had success on a billboard because more white people bought it, that means we need to change to that. We need to sound like the whites to make more money. Because if all you care about is being up on the billboard, get more number ones, get more streams, then what is it really about? People said, here's the better question. Who asked him for his opinion? He needs to find his own culture. Well, see, that's the thing. He's a executive in gospel music in America. Like, he's a big deal. He has a standing. So you can't really ignore his words. He has some level of control over certain things. Like, that song never would have made it. It was not about food stamps being in the hood. It's just about tough times and getting through it. It's not about poverty, being without. That's why if you look at music now, when you see these award shows, whether it's the Grammys, BET, they call it gospel inspirational. Inspirational music now. Hell, some of these gospel songs don't even say the word God. And if you're a person who just don't believe in that stuff, it's okay, but they don't even use the word God in the songs now to let you know who they're talking about. They say him, you, that type of stuff. So now you can interpret a song to be about a husband, a father, anybody. They don't even say the word God in all their music no more. Keep it throwing tomatoes. And that's why when you ask that question, does lineage matter more than skin color? Yeah. But I want to show this too, because the same way they say Black American culture is exported, I'm gonna show this here. This is in Kenya. Out wearing cowboy boots, listening to country music. If I'm not mistaken, country music is one of the most popular genres on the African continent. Thousands of people have come together in Nairobi to celebrate their love for country music, which is hugely popular in Kenya. The International Cowboy and Cowgirl Day has been running every year since 2018. Festival goers put on their cowboy gear and line dance to music by their favorite country singers, including their very own Elvis.
In this world full of confusion, full of drama, country music is the only thing that makes sense to me.
Man, oh man, I ain't even gonna put the whole thing. Let's show some of that influence right quick. I want to show this. Because they started comparing for whatever. Oh, here's the clip. I got the clip now. Sorry, y'all. Here's the clip.
Point that you made when you knew that something different had to happen to resurrect or reshape the Christian/gospel industry?
I mean, I'm gonna be straight up. I knew it the first day. It was stale. The gospel norms wasn't working no more, man. Y'all sing too hard. Y'all over-sing. Good God. Stop doing that. Nobody want to hear no runs. People keep saying, we want choir music back. Choir music would have never died if people want to listen to it.
Sound like Roy Jones. Those were his some of his comments. And with that, they started playing and comparing gospel music with the continent. I'm not even about to play that because that don't even make sense. But I want to show this here. Let me show this.
Recently, Afro hairstyles have grown in popularity in Japan. A subculture known as B-style emerged, where young Japanese individuals adopted elements of Black culture, including Afro hairstyles, to emulate their favorite American rappers. This trend involved darkening their skin and wearing various Black braiding hairstyles, such as cornrows. In recent years, there has been a resurgence of interest in Afro hairstyles among Japanese men. Afro perms have become a popular trend, with specialized barbers offering this unique hairstyle. Additionally, platforms have seen a significant number of posts under hashtags related to Afro hair in Japan, indicating a growing interest and appreciation
They're giving them froze.
for these styles within the Japanese community.
This is crazy. That's the influence. Copying your hair. Let me play this right here. Hold on. Now, I want to say these group dudes are comedians over there, and they do these as like a parody. But the fact that they're so extreme with it is just hilarious. Let me show some more. Hold on. 50 Cent seems to be very popular over there too. Remember they got an African 50 Cent over there. Grace said, Lord. Oh man, let me run through some more of these. This is just funny to me. It's just funny to me. Hold on. This is China. Let me show this.
They saying Asians all look alike, but I can say the same shit about you. Talking about Asians can't drive, probably the reason I'm swerving a coupe. 조심해 세차 사고 나서 우리 어머니 잔소리 아이고. 现在我每天喝一
Oh God. Oh, this one right here too. Cause you know the K-pop scene. I'm keep it laughing. K-pop scene, they've been pushing that for years, which is just 90s, early 2000s R&B and pop. I'm gonna show this too. Let me show this. Look at this. This was considered ghetto. Rocking the grill with the pinky out, showing off the teeths. down in Florida, Memphis, Tennessee, Georgia, Carolinas. This was ghetto. Houston. Or should I just say Texas in general? I'm logging off. What up, Mark? This was the ghetto. Now it's just, style. Everything good. Let me play this. Just copy the whole thing. But that's just imperialism. That's American soft power. That's why everybody mimicked you. The reason saying the Mexicans been trying to take the zoot suits and the lowriders the last couple years, even though Negroes was doing that back in the 40s. They're trying to say they started that. That's their style. We copied them. You got the LA Negroes. Yeah, man, y'all got to understand, man, this is what we was on. All right, bro. Some of y'all just give up everything. A lot of these people to go around spreading all type of stuff about you. Taking over things. Now they took hip hop 50%. Now Fat Joe saying I was the only one.
Well, we don't believe you. You need more people.
We were 50-50, but I was the only one. All right, bro. And the last thing I'm gonna show this. Let me show this.
America, there is never a time in that system where we exist and there is racial parity, there's class parity. And so I guess what baffles me about ADOS the most is what is the point? Because as long as there's any Americanness, we are always last, right? I just, what are we supposed to do here? Like, what do we do with our check? Like, what do we do? Where is the freedom? I guess that's the thing that baffles me about the conclusion is that, well, in the end, America is your prize. And it's like, if that is what is at the bottom of my Happy Meal, you send that shit back. And the question I have is, if it is only within the confines of this thing that we have here in this American experiment, the question that lingers for me is piecemeal liberation really liberation, right? So the thing that ADOS doesn't answer for me is that I think is essential in any liberatory framework is what about everybody else?
It reminds me, whenever those Hebrew Israelite dudes be on the corner, and you can disagree with them, but they'll be up there telling you that the black people, they'll say, you are God's chosen people. He loves you. He made his whole planet for you. You are a special group. It's you. And the first thing one of these black people will say is, what about white people? What about other groups of people? What about Asians? What about Indians? So as downtrodden and kicked you've been, all the stuff you've been going through, when somebody tells you you're special, the first thing you do is, what about everybody else? That's what this reminds me of.
Because I think that anytime you have a piece of liberation pie, it's still a Wookiee, because what about everybody else? And I feel like, to me, that is a question that does not get answered. And I think that anytime you purport to create liberation for some and not others, it's always going to be temporary and it's always going to be wildly ineffective.
And so this is where.
And also, hold on, y'all, hold on. They're always worrying about other groups. I remember I was watching somebody, he was a Pan-African, more a real person who lives in reality. And I'm going to end with this. And he was like, he can never truly get behind Pan-Africanism, even though he supports some parts of it, because, he's just a person who wouldn't mind the unity. He was like, in order for Pan-Africanism to truly be successful, one thing that they never say out loud and honestly is the only way it can truly be successful is if Black Americans in particular sacrifice themselves. Because America will have to be destroyed. So the only way it can truly be a real Pan-African unity, Black Americans will have to completely sacrifice themselves in this country. We will have to just implode everything, the economy, everything, and give up our lives for that to exist. There's no other way for it to happen. But if you said it out loud, you have a lot less people to support it. I just found it funny. But anyway, we went through it all. Hopefully y'all enjoyed the show. About to get out of here. Hold on. How long we been going? How long? 2:36. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna get out of here, y'all. Thank y'all for coming. Hopefully support as always. Another week is on its way. Y'all stay safe, be peaceful to your families and friends. Hope everything works out this week. You get what you've been looking for. You get what you earned. Mark said Africans in Africa would have to put their tribal ways for Pan-Africanism to work. It still would require us to be sacrificed. Yeah. Good show, dude. End strong, everyone. Start fresh tomorrow. Kiefer says, thanks. I'll be watching the beginning. Have a good week. All right. Thank you. Be sure to like it on your way out if you can. Share it if you can. If you're not subscribed, be sure to do that. As always, y'all be safe. All praise to the Most High. And peace, man.